Operation Locker, a creative name for a map that is going to be a prison based in the Himalayas. Hey there broskies, it's Lupus, and today I want to talk to you guys about the latest map that has been confirmed and shown to us in the This Is Battlefield 4 multiplayer trailer called Operation Locker. I'm going to go throughout the trailer and point out some really cool screenshots that I've noticed that show off some of the features and some of the interesting things worth noting within the map. And in the end, I'm going to talk about some of the things that I think are really cool that I've noticed, and then I'm going to talk about some things that I would like to see incorporated in a snow-based map such as this one. So first off, we initially end up seeing this map in this screenshot right here. There are a few things worth noting from this screenshot as well. First off, directly in front of the person, I'm sure you guys all notice that there are bars right there, which indicate that it is going to be a cell door, which allows me to believe that this is going to be a prison-based map. Another thing worth noting is that the walls have a lot of support barriers, but then are majority based off of rocks, which is why we end up seeing later that it is based inside of a mountain. The third thing I want to point out is the explosion off to the left of the screen. Now, I'm not exactly sure what this explosion is, and it doesn't really have anything directly to do with Operation Locker, but I did think it was very interesting, and I wasn't sure what exactly it is. At first thought, I thought it was an incendiary grenade, and while I still do think that is a possibility, I also think that it had too much explosive damage, and that it looks way too large and way too fiery to be the incendiary grenades that we were earlier seeing at E3 and Gamescom. So there are two options to what that is. Either somebody has shot some flammable explosive tank that has exploded and has a sort of flaming explosion, or they have changed the way the incendiary grenades work a little bit, adding a little bit more of an explosiveness to them and making the fire a little bit more deadly, because from what I've seen, they're not very hard to get away from if somebody does throw them at you. If you guys are wondering what explosiveness I'm referring to, if I go back into the trailer a little bit and slow it down a little bit, you can see that there's a guy directly where the explosion is about to take place. And when the explosion happens, he instantly gets blown backwards and he dies, and that doesn't seem like the incendiary grenades that we were seeing. It was sort of like an explosion that gets big, then sucks in, and then goes out again. It's a very large explosion, and I don't think it's an incendiary grenade, but it very well could be. Maybe it's something we haven't even seen yet. The next screenshot I wanted to point out was just the basic prison layout of Operation Locker. As you guys can see, this is just sort of a room within it, made majority of cement support barriers, as I pointed out earlier. And it looks like it's going to be a very close quarters map, as they did say within the trailer. And it definitely looks like it's going to be pretty awesome. The next screenshot shows the outside of the map, which appears to be above ground. As you guys can see in the side of the mountain, what seems to be the entrance into the prison. And I want to point out now that initially when we first saw this map was not in this most recent trailer. We initially saw this map in the Battlelog 2.0 trailer a while back. The rumored name for this map at the time was Gotland. I'm not exactly sure where this name came from and who exactly started it, but I know that that's what I was hearing, that's what I saw on Reddit, that's what I saw on a bunch of YouTube videos, but this is now what we can tell is Operation Locker. And I initially thought, what is, like, it is obviously a snowy mountain, but I instantly assumed that this is going to be the Himalayas, and more closely, this could possibly be Mount Everest. And the reason why I think it might be maybe the base of Mount Everest, maybe halfway up Mount Everest, is because Mount Everest is located in Tibet, China, and the majority of the maps that we have seen thus far for Battlefield 4 are based in China. The whole story is based in China, and we are getting a China Rising DLC to add even more to the number of Chinese maps. So I am assuming that this is going to be the Himalayas. It does fit, and it could possibly be Mount Everest. The next screenshot I want to look at is one showing a somewhat of a doctor's office within it, which seems to be maybe there's a doctor's office within the prison. And the main reason I want to point this out is because there is another explosion here very similar to the one before, and I don't know where it came from. It just comes out of nowhere, and the guy who's shooting the guy doesn't throw it, the guy who is shooting doesn't throw it, and I'm not exactly sure where the explosion comes from. It's just kind of random, and if I slow-mo it again, you guys will know what I'm talking about. And I'm wondering if they're just randomly placed explosives throughout the map that I'm maybe not noticing, but they look very deadly, and you're going to have to be very cautious within this map because it's going to be very close quarters, so you're going to be spraying and praying, but you're going to have to be careful with all these explosive objects surrounding you. But I did want to point out that this was a doctor's office, which shows that they are putting a lot of detail into this map. It's not just going to be basic corridors with cells and made prison look to it. They're adding a doctor's office, which is what this seems to be. Either that or this is some sort of chemistry lab, and it looks very interesting. The little things on the wall, I'm not exactly sure what they're called, but I believe they're called something like a containment cabinet, something like that. I can't remember exactly. But it definitely looks really detailed and awesome, and I'm just looking forward to all the corridors and extra things that you're going to be able to hide behind, and those explosives are definitely going to be something to look out for. The next screenshot I want to look at is this center area of the map, and if I pull back up the little thing from Battle Logs, the Battle Log 2.0 video, you guys can see in the middle of the map there's what seems to be some sort of circle. And whenever I showed that screenshot a second ago of the top of the mountain range where the little helicopter pad is, it seems to be that's on top. So what I'm assuming is in this little circular area there is an opening at the top, which makes me think that maybe this area of the map is how you can get on top of the map, or maybe whenever this thing falls in you'll be able to connect to the top of the map. Maybe that has something to do with the levolution, but this definitely is some sort of levolution right here where this little tower sort of thing in the middle of the map caves in and crashes to the ground, and there's also a person in it, so I would definitely want to watch out if I were on this map and I was inside of that. Another important thing I wanted to point out from this screenshot is that there is frost around the edges of it, if you guys notice. And this is very interesting because it's just adding more detail to everything that you are seeing visually within the game. If I go through a little bit and slow-mo these guys running right here, you can still see the frost around the edge. And what I was assuming at this point was that this was maybe just something that they added during the spectator for the trailer just because they thought it would look cool, and it's not really going to be there in first person. But if I go to this next screenshot, we end up seeing the intervention right here, and if you look around the corners of the image, you can see that the frost is there as well. And I immediately started thinking, well, maybe around the entire map, since it is based in the Himalayas and the snow and the cold, that you'll just have it on there and it's just going to be there. But DICE went even more depth into that. Depending on where you are in the map, it seems like if you're in a cold location, if you're in a warm location, the frost is going to start appearing, getting thicker and thicker. So I wanted to point that out by saying in this area where the intervention is, you guys can see there are icicles coming down, and it looks like it's probably really cold in there. This next screenshot shows another guy within the same map with another one of those explosions, I might add. I'm very curious about what these explosions are. But as you guys can see, there's no frost around the corners of his eyesight, so he's obviously not in a cold location. The next screenshot I want to show is a transition. If you look at this screenshot right here, there's a little bit of frost appearing, and it doesn't really show it not there at all yet. But if I slow-mo the little section after that, you guys can see it slowly appear, getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And what I'm going to maybe assume and maybe hope in a way is that maybe the longer you stay in a colder location where you go outside, the more frost appears on your goggles or whatever you might want to say that you're wearing, more frost will appear. So maybe you're more inclined to not stay outside. It's sort of maybe preventing people from camping outside and actually getting inside where the action is and keeping it fast paced. You can go outside for maybe a certain amount of time, but if you stay out there too long, maybe you'll freeze to death. I don't know if they're going to do that, but you will definitely have worse vision, and you could definitely be surprised by somebody who doesn't have as much frost on their screen. And one final thing I wanted to point out is this bomb right here. This doesn't have anything to do with the Operation Locker, but it is something very interesting, and it's called the BlastBot 3000. This is not the bomb that was in Obliteration. Neither is it the bomb that is in the in Rush. So this is just another bomb, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. Maybe it has to do with another game mode. Maybe it's some sort of weapon that you're able to use. Maybe it is the reason behind all the explosions that we saw throughout the trailer. I'm not sure, but it's definitely something really weird. But throughout it, as you guys can see, it says it's armed, and it looks like the guy who's on it is trying to disarm it, because at the very end of it, it says the armed little symbol goes away, or the red armed word goes away. So I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it is definitely going to be some sort of bomb that you have to try and deactivate, try and arm, stuff like that, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see. But yeah, guys, that's my screenshots and analysis of the new map called Operation Locker. And now I want to tell you guys some little things that I would like to see incorporated into the map. One of those things would be the snow. Maybe whenever you get into a thick area of snow, you start treading through the snow very slowly, your boots are sinking down in it. And the main reason I want to see this is because I recently got GTA 5 and I've been playing a lot of it. And whenever you go up to North Yankton and you're in the beginning mission and you go back to it later, you end up seeing, or you end up walking in really thick snow, and your legs will sink into it and you'll start having to trek through it, and you get very slow and fatigued. So maybe they will incorporate this into Battlefield 4. If they don't, I won't really cry about it or anything, but that definitely would be a really cool feature. And another thing I wanted to address is the possible dynamic weather that will be within the map. We've already seen what seems to be the Levolution, where that center area caves in and gets destroyed and falls down into the center. But what about the dynamic weather? Will this map have a possibility of a dynamic weather? I see no reason why it wouldn't. They could possibly add a blizzard so that going outside would be even more difficult. Maybe that frost effect comes into play even worse than before. Maybe when the blizzard's coming in and you decide to go in one of the outer areas, your vision just gets really bad and you can get surprised by enemies, or you can end up dying within the blizzard. Stuff like that could possibly happen. And basically that will encourage you to stay inside, and you won't be going outside as much as you might have been before, and that will change the whole play style of the game, which would be really awesome, and it would definitely be dynamic to the map. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys did find this video very informational. If you guys have any ideas of your own on what you would like to see within this map, and if you have any ideas of some stuff that I wasn't very sure about, such as those explosions and what the BlastBot 3000 is, then leave it in the comment section down below. But if you guys did like this video, be sure to smack that like button, and if you'd like more great content, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.